Okay, episode 41 of Out of the Box podcast. Got a few things I want to cover in this. First of all, we're off the back of the second bank holiday this month. Like, why do we need so many bank holidays in 1 month? Can anybody tell me? It's just unnecessary. And it has to be, like, I think May, there was like a report that like the economy or GDP was going to fall for the first time in like a couple of years, maybe since COVID. That is because of bank holidays. 2 bank holidays, it's unnecessary. It kind of like loses your flow. One thing I do want to say on it though, the weather's been gorgeous. And secondly, when other people are enjoying the sun on a bank holiday, you can be working and getting ahead of them. That's typically what I think a lot of founders do. But anyway, so things we've been looking at the last week is we're looking at improving data. So we've started collecting NPS, Net Promoter Score, per order. We've also been collecting it internally, but I'll touch on that in a bit. So per order, we're looking at customers rating either their jersey or their order out of 10, and then that can inform how we buy jerseys going forward, how we can evolve the product offering. So that's actually something that I kind of overlooked for a good while. I know a lot of businesses do this. I feel like it's more a manufacturing type thing, but maybe it's more relevant if you're like got an investor pitch deck. What it can allow us to do is really focus in on how do we make this as best as possible so that customers stay and come back as long as possible. And it's a long-term thing to work on and really focus on, and maybe quarterly or 6 month or yearly targets to make this better. At the same time, we have built out an analysis now of all the football shirts our customers have got. So we track every top every customer gets, and we've built out an analysis based on essentially churn rate, and it takes into effect multiple factors within that, you know, averaging out what number of shirts they've received and other factors like that. Was there delays around times? But it's given us kind of a look at what is the best jerseys and what aren't the best jerseys, and this can help us inform future buying now. I think we have enough data at this point that we could manufacture the perfect football shirt, you know, the jersey that is wanted universally, that is adored. And maybe this is something that, you know, if you went to an Adidas or a Nike, they could make, or we could just be even more devious and create our own football shirt brand and make our own jerseys. So yeah, data, that's kind of really been the focus. I touched on how we also did NPS internally. So we ran that, and I was inspired by Kukan Rugs, who are a great organisation. I saw they posted about NPS internally and making it as best as possible for their staff. And so I decided to collect that for Q1, and then we'll do that for Q2, Q3, Q4. And we'll kind of track that over time. And that will be a judgment on how well we, myself, are doing as a management team. How all this kind of came about, and it's funny because I was speaking to the Scalex guys just there, who said they kind of give the framework for Kukan to track this, is that stepping out of the business last week and going to the Scalex event, and then stepping out of the business today and talking to the guys, has allowed me to come back with these kind of new barometers for success. So by doing these things, stepping out of the business, working on it, even though it can feel like a guilty kind of pastime because you think you should be working on something, it can lead to growth for your business. So I think that's an underrated thing done by many founders, is that they're too busy, caught up in their own shit. And I know a couple of them, and they're never actually working on themselves by either going to events, investing, or networking. And this is kind of poignant because I had a friend who's debating joining a course, and it's an expensive course for where he is on his journey. He is kind of a solo entrepreneur, and I was like to him, you just have to bite the bullet and invest. Because I remember the first time when I made that investment in myself, and it was for an agency to help me. It was a frightening amount of money for me at the time. I think it was 1,500, which was, obviously it's a small commitment kind of now when you've got the scale, but at the time when I was small, it was like all the money I had. And I was like, am I really doing this? But that was the best thing I've ever done. And I continue to try and keep doing these things. So I would say with hindsight, and I told my friend this, 100% you have to do it. 100% you have to invest in yourself. 100% you have to step out of the business and try and improve yourself. And really comes back to this, my favorite law of the 21 laws of leadership, the law of the lid. And, you know, if you're a 7 out of 10, then your team can never be better than a 7 out of 10. They're a 6 out of 10. You know, if you're a 9 out of 10, then your team can be a 9 out of 10 too. And so by really working on yourself and working on the business, then everything gets better as a result. So yeah, that's kind of what we've been working on so far. We have been looking at, again, expanding through new international markets, and I think I'll touch on that maybe next week when we're fully live and operational in those markets. But I'm really excited for the journey the company's going on at the minute. We constantly hit challenges, but I feel like we rise to the occasion and overcome them. And as we head into essentially peak period, 2 weeks time, when it will really kick off. I think we're in a good place overall. I think we have the keys to success, to continuing our momentum. The rule of the big mo, isn't that, in the 21 laws of leadership? And it's through continual evaluation of where we are, goal setting, and then working towards that goal setting. So I think this will be a rather short one, but I've ran through some interesting things. And when I was speaking to a finance/investor during the week, just a casual conversation, nothing too intensive, but he reinforced something to me that really has been the theme of this podcast, is that collecting data is so important. You know, if you're ever going to sell your business, you need to have as much data as possible, and that's what we've been doing. So I think I'm going to step it up, and if I can find a few more areas where maybe we don't have data, then I'll look at adding it. But I think over the last 4 or 5 months, we've added maybe 6 to 10 different touch points that we didn't have before. And I think when you're exiting a business, whoever's selling it or buying it, they want to know as much about, like, in terms of data on the customer, data on the employees, as possible. So makes sense. That will be all for today. I'll be back next week with another episode, and I appreciate everyone who's been listening so far.